Hi, welcome to Year in Review podcast. My name is Maddie Coker, and I'm joined by...
I'm Gabby.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Rhea.
And today we'll be talking about the California wildfires.
So more specifically, we're going to get into the political, economic, social, and environmental impacts that the California wildfires have had on the state and even the entire country. We're also going to mention some of the policies that could be implemented to prevent the California wildfires in the future, or just to help better prepare the Californians for the wildfires to come.
So some background information on the 2018 California wildfires. They were considered some of the worst fires in California's history, and they started around mid-July, and they spanned until November of the same year.
So in November, the wildfires affected many different areas, including Ventura County, Malibu, and Los Angeles. These wildfires had very large death tolls and
such a large amount of wildfires in California just because of its position on the west coast. It's extremely arid, it doesn't receive much rainfall, and it also experiences a lot of high winds, which can cause these fires.
Yeah, along with this, California has been experiencing long droughts throughout the years and a lot of climate change. The increasing temperatures increase the probability of the wildfires to occur.
Yeah, and clearly the wildfires have had extreme impacts on the citizens of California.
Yeah, an example of this shown in the Toronto Star newspaper is that over 300,000 people statewide have been under evacuation orders in California just because of the wildfires.
Yeah, I also agree that the wildfires have had extreme impacts. I mean, the Camp Fire, which was considered the deadliest fire of Californian history, had a death toll of 86 people alone.
Yeah, I honestly can't even begin to imagine what these families had to go through during this process. And I know a majority of the American population can't relate either. Just the thought of having to leave everything behind and your valuables, everything you've worked for during your life, it's like incomprehensible. I know a lot of houses were completely destroyed and families have been split up. It was a very stressful time, and I couldn't imagine being put through that.
Yeah, it's crazy how much it disrupted people's lives. Schools across California had to be evacuated, and kids have been out of school for months. It's really disrupting their education.
Not to mention that the lives of firefighters and their families have also been affected. Several firefighters were also, their lives were also taken during the fires, which is extremely, just sad.
So along with this, the wildfires brought a lot of publicity in 2018 because there was a fire in Malibu, and many celebrity homes and mansions were destroyed, and multiple celebrities, including Miley Cyrus, for example, posted about their mansions being ruined, and they showed pictures of how the fires truly affected their community. But showcasing these images showed how other citizens of California must have been affected, like those who don't have multiple houses like them, and the less fortunate who lost everything that they have. So they were able to show people in different areas of the country how these wildfires truly affect one person.
Going off of what Rhea was saying, I think the publicity that these celebrities have brought to the fires, one, it shows that the devastation caused by the fires, it's insane, but it also helps the rest of the country relate to the struggles that everybody is going through, especially like Rhea touched upon. It not only states that these celebrities are going through it, but it also showcases how the common people, they're going through the same thing and they're less fortunate, so it'll be harder for them to get back up on their feet.
Yeah, I was watching some YouTube clips as well, and these just people from around the country, I don't know, like random parts that didn't experience this, obviously, they went through and saw some of the houses, and it was shocking to them because these were working class citizens, like your average Americans, that had to experience this, and they don't have a lot of money to fall back on, so it's just crazy. And it's not even the social aspect that's the most jarring about all of this. It's the economic stability of California that's completely tanked now. According to the balance.com, California suffered over $400 billion in damage. I couldn't even imagine.
And actually, the economic stability in California is creating a lot of political problems regarding the federal funding given to the state.
Yeah, Trump actually tweeted about the fires and even threatened to pull all the federal funding because of the apparent mismanagement of the forest. and lack of initiative by the citizens to like make a change.
Yeah, well, what came as a shock to me is that most of the funding that was given to the state of California is for rebuilding things like homes and like giving financial aid to families who are affected by these fires, while not much of like donations have been given to like fire prevention. Like, my question is, do you think more of the funding should go towards the fire prevention instead of this funding just be given directly to the families and like rebuilding the economy? Because shown on MNN.com, which is the Mother Nature Network site, they show that there are several different like initiatives and like relief funds for families affected in California, like the California Fire Foundation or the Direct Relief Foundation. But like, I haven't really seen too many that are focused on preventing the fires in the future. And personally, I believe that that's more important. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think more funds need to be directed towards forest fire prevention in general, just because if you can prevent it at first, then you won't have as much economic disparity within the state. So things like implementing more controlled burns, which is like, controlled burns. But if you implement more of those, then you can avoid more of this damage, and it will definitely prevent them from going like so long, like for such a duration.
Yeah. I guess like one thing is that there's always like risks, like even with control burns, like putting money towards prevention, that's also a risk, because then you're taking money that could have been given to direct relief for these families. But like, if they never put money towards preventing the fires, then I feel like it's just gonna continue as a problem. Like, when are they ever gonna fix it,
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if they focus more money on preventing it before it happens, then they're not going to have as many economic problems after it finishes.
I agree with Trump's argument about how a big problem is the poor management of the forest. They have to do more to prevent the fires before they start, before the government gives a lot of funds to California.
Well, personally, I believe that the fires are rather inevitable, just given that California's environment is naturally, it's arid and it's dry, and they don't receive a lot of rainfall, which creates this environment that fuels and starts wildfires really easily. So if the funding was used towards preventing the fires, I believe it'd be more expensive than to rebuild afterwards. So I believe that the funding should go towards rebuilding afterwards.
I see your point, and I understand that like fires in this arid environment, they're going to be inevitable no matter what. But I feel like that's why it's like most important to prevent them before they happen. Especially like I mentioned earlier, controlled burns. They remove all of the underbrush that's more susceptible to like catching on fire in the really hot and just dry atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think like something that Lauren's trying to get to is that like obviously because of this climate, it's not going to be 100% prevention. They're never going to not see like a California wildfire again, but I think they could prevent how bad it's going to affect the entire community, or like how many families or houses it's going to burn down. So control burns, that's one thing, or just even like Trump's idea of managing the forests differently in a way that they're not, like, houses aren't built so closely to these large forests and areas of land that could catch on fire. I guess that's also a prevention mechanism that they could take control of.
I completely understand this, yes, I get it. And obviously, when they do control burns, I'm sure that they monitor where they're burning, because they wouldn't want that to start another fire due to everything that California's been through. So I completely understand that. Because I know that control burns are very expensive and risky. So
it's more likely that the funds will just go straight to the families instead.
Yeah. And economic relief is definitely like important as well. I just feel like a nice 50-50 split.
Yeah. So overall, I think we've had a pretty productive conversation on how the communities in California and the citizens were affected by these fires, and what are some possible future implications that we believe should be enacted.
I think it'll be interesting to see where the government goes from here on out regarding wildfires based on the destruction and the impacts of the 2018 wildfires have had.
Yeah, and our thoughts will definitely be going out to those families who are affected by the fire.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our Year in Review podcast. Hope you learned something new.